Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Geeks Watch. Today I'm going to talk about the Lego Movie from 2014, an image of which you will see here. The Lego Movie follows the story of Emmett Brakowski, a rather ordinary, rules-following nobody of a Lego person. Even his co-workers barely remember him. He is just so bland and ordinary. He gets thrown into the world of master builders when he runs into is it Wild Child or Wildfire? I think it's Wildfire. This female Lego here. And she somehow mistakenly believes that he is the special, the one who has been prophesized to overthrow big business. You know, it's just hard. This is, they travel to other Lego area. He lives in Lego City. They go to like Lego Old West. There's various little Lego locations that they go to. There's an old wizard voiced by Morgan Freeman. The story is pretty much a standard, semi-standard hero's journey / chosen one narrative. As a kid's movie, done with Legos. There are some other elements to it too, though, but this film kind of heavily spoofs The Matrix. Because, in The Matrix, Neo is the one who will be able to rewrite the rules of the Matrix at will. In the Lego Movie, Emmett is the special, and he's destined to become the greatest master builder who could redesign Legos, at will. So it's, a huge spoof on that. There was also some elements of cosmic horror, which is weird for a kid's movie, but it's more in relation to how the fact that, the Legos are still Legos, but there's aspects of the real world in there as well. One of the big bad pieces of super weapons that big business is going to use is called the Kraggle. However, the Kraggle is basically a tube of crazy glue with some of the letters faded out. All that's left is though the K, the R, the G, and the L. There's a Q-tip, which they call something else. I can't remember, but there's real world stuff in the Lego world. Because the real world kind of affects the Lego world, there was elements of cosmic horror in it as well. This is one of those movies that my kids wanted me to take them to, and it was one of those movies that I felt would be stupid and boring, and I would hate it. But it turns out I loved it. I really did. This movie was cleverly done. The script is good and silly and fun. This film was also just an homage to the people who created their love of Legos. They were inspired by, there are people on YouTube who do stop motion Lego stuff. They'll recreate scenes from movies with using Legos with stop action. This film is CGI, but they were inspired by that. And even though this is CGI, these guys went hard, way harder than they had to. If you look at some of the other Lego, like they have like Lego CGI stuff for like Saturday morning cartoons. They had Ninjago and there's some Lego Star Wars stuff. But if you look at that, it's just Lego in form. It's not really Legos. Their arms bend, their necks bend. They don't move like their torsos twist and bend. They don't move like Legos. When these guys did this, even though it's CGI, they move like Legos. Their knees don't bend, their elbows don't bend. Like when they clap, they don't clap their hands because their hands can't move together because they're Legos. So instead of clapping, they do this. They go, yay! Because that's all they can do is wave their hands. They really, really stuck to the rules of how Legos work and move. To the point that when I say they went hard, like you see a cityscape here. Get rid of the glare there. Like the cityscape built of Legos. Everything in the film, everything in this movie is built with actual Lego pieces. they didn't just create a wireframe and make it look like Legos. They built Lego bricks and then built everything out of Lego bricks. Everything in this film, even though it's computer animated, is built with actual Lego bricks. Every building, every piece of scenery behind the action is 100% made of Lego bricks. So if they, knock down a building and it breaks up into Legos, they know where all the Lego pieces are. And they literally, it smashes into 1,000 Lego pieces. There are 1,000 Lego pieces. They went so hard into making this film. I was, when I was thinking about doing this and stuff, I was very impressed. All this background information I didn't know, and I was very impressed that they did this. They went that far. The Lego pieces themselves have imperfections. They scanned actual Lego pieces, and you can see like molding seams in the plastic. Some of the pieces are bent or chipped or broken, especially for older Lego pieces like Benny, who is Benny is like a space robot who is obsessed with building spaceships. And his like the lower chin strap of his helmet is kind of split in the middle, and it's kind of off center. Like one is it's kind of split off center. So and you can see little like chips and scuff marks and things like that in the Lego pieces that the film is made of. And I love this film. It's just it's one of those silly kids films that is just so well done. And I think one of the things that appeals to me too, I mean, I love Legos as a kid. When my kids were little and we bought Lego sets, I would help them build the sets. And by help, I meant help. I wouldn't do it for them. I would look at the instructions and say, okay, on this page, you need these 5 pieces kind of thing, and let them put it together. I would help them by telling them which pieces that they needed for that particular piece of instruction, and then let them assemble it. But, the kids got into Legos, and I would sit around and help them build them. And I loved, as a kid, inventing my own things, building, taking the pieces apart that came with the set. My parents got me a set, not a construction set, but like just a box of parts, a box of blocks. And I would build my own spaceships on my own towers and have space battles and do all that goofy stuff as a kid. So I loved, the building aspect of Legos. I always loved Legos. But this is also one of those films that, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old hasn't watched The Matrix. They're not going to get the connections that the film is making. They're not going to get the cosmic horror elements of real world stuff, interacting with, the cartoon world or the Lego world. There's a lot of stuff in there that is geared towards adults liking it. And I think those are the best children's films are ones that aren't made for children. And this, there are stories written with the mind of a child as an audience, but written as a story that the adults want to tell and hear. And this is one of those. This may be a children's film, but it wasn't written for children. It was written for the people who made it. The people who created and wrote it and directed it and animated it told a story that they wanted to watch, even though it was geared towards a younger audience. It was kept to a certain level so that a younger audience could appreciate it. But there was a ton of stuff in there that was just for the parents watching it and for the people who created it. And like I said, to me, those are always the best. Those are always the films that my kids dragged me to, that I liked the most. Ones that were good films and not just kids' entertainment. And I think the Lego Movie qualifies as that. Definitely a grade A in my book. So I can't say it would be for everyone. I've long said that I'm a huge fan of animation, and this definitely fits in that category. I'm a huge fan of, computer animation, traditional cel hand-drawn animation, and stop motion. I love all those things. And this has at least 2 of those. Inspired by stop motion and done by CGI. So this is definitely my wheelhouse. But, if you have kids, definitely have them watch this, because it's fun, it's good for kids, and it's something that the adults can enjoy too. Definitely the fun for the whole family kind of thing. Although I say that with some, some sarcasm, it really is. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.